Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Jacob Wile, too.
And tonight we're talking about the newest episode of DuckTales. And in my classic 1930s radio announcer voice, it's going to be called Sky Pirates. In the sky!
Woohoo!
Isn't that right, Jacob? I'm going to do the whole podcast like this, in this voice. How do you like that, Jacob?
Sounds
Are you
fun.
mocking me, boy?
It's all you know. Now all we need is just like a filter.
Yeah, okay.
Make-
All right,
make
I'll
it
stop now, folks. How you doing, Jacob? We are talking about DuckTales Season 1, Episode 20, Sky Pirates.
in the sky.
Oh man, Jacob. So this is a damn good episode. I really feel like this show has kind of found its groove, Jacob. I feel like this show is on an upward trajectory.
This is definitely, I wouldn't call it the best one, but it's definitely a very enjoyable one.
You know what? I think I have a good comparison for this one. I feel like, in a positive sort of way, this is the episode that reminds me the most of the original series.
Well, ironically, bringing something in from another Disney afternoon series.
I know, right? Which is the really weird thing about it, but but I'm saying in terms of structure, in terms of how the episode played out. Of course, we do have good things like Jacob. Once again, the writing on the three nephews continues to be great because we have three really, really good storylines here. Huey has probably the least to do because he's just sort of helping Launchpad, and he gets covered in blue ink.
And Scrooge thinks he's Dewey.
Right. But Dewey, Jacob, you know that I've been kind of Team Dewey, and this episode sort of cements my Team Dewey ship if DJ Daft Duck didn't already do that. Oh my god, I love Dewey's passion for the hat. I've been in that same sort of position where it's like I'm wanting to tell people about something, and they're just like, yeah, not now, not now. All right, yeah, the grown-ups are talking. And man, Jacob, I find Dewey to just be such a relatable, quirky, funny character, and I just feel like the writers, I don't know, like again, I feel like all three of the nephews have really good qualities to them, but
it really seems Dewey's like Dewey's like the main nephew so far. I mean, so far, like a lot of the arcs in these episodes are focusing around him.
But then, of course, we have Louie, and Louie has that like weird, the Diamond of Temptation or whatever the hell it is.
Diamond of the Sapphire of Souls.
Oh my god, that was hilarious, Jacob. That was just like it was like he goes all Gollumed out over an airport tour souvenir.
Like I said, even had a good payoff.
Yep. Writing on that was on point. Arguably some of the best Launchpad stuff we've gotten in the series.
Oh yeah, like this radar is an ant farm. Like that's not a sticker. Adults call it decals. Oh god.
You know what's funny, Jacob? When I heard the name of the episode, Sky Pirates in the Sky, because it's just such a fun name to say. My instant thought was Miyazaki, because Miyazaki, of course, my favorite Miyazaki is Porco Rosso. I've seen most of the Miyazaki movies, and a lot of them have elements of flying, flying machines and flying contraptions, and Sky Pirates or something that have been in more than one Miyazaki movie. And so Jacob, what do you think of that? Like, do you think there was any Miyazaki influence, or at the very least, do you think that this kind of at least inadvertently calls to mind some of the Miyazaki stuff?
As I mentioned before, I haven't really watched Miyazaki. Unfortunately, I mean, I can't really call myself an anime fan until I see a lot of Miyazaki stuff.
Start with Porco Rosso, man. Everyone says to start with. Well, I know you've probably seen Spirited Away, right?
Actually, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I said, I'm kind of lagged on that. Like behind the studio.
Start with Porco Rosso and then go to Spirited Away. That'd be my watch order.
I kind of like lag behind on the Studio Ghibli stuff.
We can talk about that off air because I feel like there's an order that me personally, like this is just personal preference here, folks, of course, like I just feel like Studio Ghibli kind of has like a groove of things in order to like, get into like I would say my neighbor Totoro, Porco Rosso, Spirited Away is kind of like the big like okay, like you've gotten past Totoro, which is just sort of like this charming little fairy tale. You've gotten past Porco Rosso, which introduces like the sky pirate elements and the flying machines and all that, but is still sort of a laid back tale. And Spirited Away is just kind of like the gateway drug, Jacob. But you have to build up to Spirited Away.
I'll do that.
All right. Anyways.
So I wouldn't be able to honestly say if there was any Miyazaki references, though it probably wouldn't surprise me.
Hmm. But of course we get Tailspin all over the place here.
Especially with Don Carnage.
Oh, Carnage. Jacob, I gotta say, like this installment of Don Carnage, not bad at all. Like, definitely not a negative portrayal of the character in the same way that Gyro is. And keep in mind, I'm still giving Gyro a chance. But let me see. I'm trying to Jamie Camille, I believe, is the name of the voice actor who does Don Carnage. And he's fine, Jacob. I just like of course, Jim Cummings. It's hard for anyone to stand in the shadows of Jim Cummings and try and fill those shoes. But man, Jim Cummings as Don Carnage just had a way of like chewing the scenery. Like he would like chew the ends of all the seas. Like, he'd be like, "I'm Don Carnage."
Like
Like he'd like
there was
really play with that.
there pretty much wasn't any scenery left when he was doing it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So with this incarnation of Don Carnage, it's totally fine. It'll work. I just unfortunately I don't necessarily think it's an improvement over the original show, but of course not everything has to be an improvement over the original show. It's just if we're keeping track.
If, since they're establishing the fact that he exists in this universe, I wonder if that's hinting at like Tailspin in this universe.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, Jacob, I feel like maybe Don Carnage himself would work better in a Tailspin show, since a Tailspin show would probably be more leaning towards like a 1950s sort of aesthetic and feel and like a more serialized nature than DuckTales has.
It's entirely possible.
All right. I really, really love all of the sidekick characters we get for Don Carnage. That was honestly my highlight of the episode. I love Peg Leg Meg, the first mate.
Oh
Of
yeah,
course, One Eyed Linda.
all very unique characters for sure.
No Name, the Nameless Parrot.
Does no name his name?
uh, I think so.
Then doesn't that mean he has a name? The
My
paradigm.
personal favorite, Two Toed Jack. I don't know, Jacob. Like all these pirates are just like they don't get a ton of screen time each, but like just them popping up and being themselves and just getting the name introduction. It's very fun. You know what I mean? It's very Pirates of the Caribbean esque.
Not to mention the numerous pirate stereotypes.
Sure. That's what I'm talking about. It's like it's kind of like a like a who's who of pirate folklore in a way. It's a lot of
except,
fun
except in the sky.
in the sky. Yes. Levy once again kind of sort of in the background, not much to say, but kind of pulls off that prank on Louis, which has a fun payoff. So, overall, not much to say on her, but she's fun.
We even got a bit of Scrooge in this again.
We did, and Scrooge is really good in some parts of this. Unfortunately, I feel like he could have had a little bit more screen time because most of the episode is focused on Dewey, but that's not a bad thing though, Jacob, because I feel like this episode above all other episodes was the Dewey episode.
It definitely combined like this. Definitely emphasizes his adventurous side.
Absolutely, and that's what I like about it. It absolutely incorporates the original sense of adventure that you get from the original series that this show does have, but this show, as we've already kind of pointed out, and the original series did this as well, keep in mind, but we've pointed out how this show does have a divide from episodes that are kind of taking place in and around the mansion and episodes that are like on big adventures. And keep in mind, some of my favorite episodes take place in and around the mansion, like McDuck Mansion Mystery, and some of my least favorite episodes, like the House of the Lucky Gander, are like these big epic adventures. So it really all depends on how you do it, Jacob. It really all depends on the execution. But if the execution's there and the sense of adventure's there, as it is with Mount Everest, as it is with an episode like this, and honestly, Jacob, I'm kind of struggling to think if I like this better than Mount Everest or not, because I know I keep hyping up Mountain Everest, but I really feel, you know what pushes this episode over the edge for me, Jacob, and we kind of buried the lead on talking about it?
What was it?
The musical numbers. Like,
Oh yeah.
this is the show's first musical episode, and I really, really appreciate it. And it makes the whole episode feel special, especially because it's a Dewey episode, and Dewey's already kind of like been pre-programmed in the series to have this musical taste and this like artistic streak to him. And the episode like really plays into that. So yeah, Jacob, I think in that regard, I'm going to have to say
New
it
favorite.
might not be the number one of the whole series because that might still be McDuck McMansion McMystery because I just love the way that episode plays out and how how murder mystery-esque it is, and that episode is just a lot of fun. But it might be my number two, Jacob. It might be my number two. It's definitely in my top three.
That's very. It is definitely up there for me too.
Hey, Jacob,
Huh.
where's Donald?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
Folks, like, I would like to know. I would genuinely love to know in the comments if anyone has any insight into why they're just not using Donald this season. I'd love to know. Because at this point it feels like, as good as this episode is, and I'm probably the logical answer would be like, well, everyone got a good amount of screen time this episode, including Don Carnage, including Don Carnage's cronies. So Donald in the episode would kind of be a little bit too much. I get that, but man, like, at least mention him, at least like show what he's doing, at least like have a cutaway gag to him on the couch or something like that. I don't know. I don't know, Jacob. It feels like, look, I know I get on the soapbox and give the same sermon week after week when we don't have Donald on the show, but that's the one thing about this show, Jacob. This show is quality, all right? This show is very much quality. Like, it's not to the level of being Gravity Falls just yet, but I feel like at this point, Jacob, I would say that season one of DuckTales is probably definitively better than a season one of like Star vs. Forces of Evil or Milo Murphy's Law. Like, I feel like we've gotten a lot of really good highlight episodes. We've gotten a lot of good character development and good mysteries and payoffs. But Donald is like the one thing that's lacking, Jacob. It's like the one thing that kind of brings down the show. And it's not the character itself, it's the lack of the character.
I know. I mean, we're gonna get plenty of him in the finale. It looks like.
But he's not even going to be voiced by Tony Anselmo, and that bothers me, Jacob. That
Well,
bothers me.
it might. From the looks of things, it's only gonna be like temporary, though.
All right, all right.
I mean,
Anyways, Jacob, I feel like we've ran our course on this episode. Do you want to get into the next few episodes?
sure. Let's go ahead.
Okay, let me see. Okay, the next episode is The Secrets of Castle McDuck. That is episode 21. Episode 22 is The Last Crash of the Sun Chaser. And we actually have a plot for this one, which is stuck on precarious peaks. The kids secretly search for the plans for the plane and clues about Delia's disappearance.
Ooh.
So that, of course, means that we're going to be tying up that mystery. And then, of course, the Shadow Wars is Magica Dispel, um, close to extracting revenge on Scrooge. the family races against time to plan a dangerous rescue mission to save Scrooge and the city. And then, of course, we have the guest star of Don Cheadle as Donald Duck. All right, Jacob, any final thoughts?
Nope. A very, very solid episode.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, folks. We'll be back on Monday to cover Big Hero 6 and that episode. We loved the last episode of Big Hero 6, Jacob, all three of us all the way around.
Oh yeah.
So I'm really hoping that the next episode of Big Hero 6 lives up to that. But in the meantime, folks, stay awesome and don't forget,
Woohoo.
woohoo! I am Don Carnage.